you have to consider what's good money, what's bad money, what's expensive money when you're a creator. How will this affect the overall brand? Is this authentic to what people come to me for? Or will they tune out because now they think I'm a sellout?
With over 3 million followers on TikTok, Spehar, better known as Under the Desk News, is an award-winning host who's become a go-to source for news for Gen Z.
It's Monday night, and here's what happened. We're here on the floor of the DNC on the Creators platform. Here's something you won't see on the legacy media tonight.
Their impactful reporting has led to interviews and collabs with major political figures like Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. And that's why today they're in the Creator Spotlight. I couldn't be more excited to have Spehar here under the desk news.
Hello.
We can't go under the desk.
No,
this is a very
I'm
small one.
Much older now than when I started 4 years ago. So the back, I've been at the desk news for a minute now.
Yes, I've been seeing this.
Yeah.
Although sometimes maybe you get a little throwback.
Well, when I don't feel safe, we still go under the desk. You know what I mean? Or if I want to be in my comfort zone, we go under the desk. First 2 years of the pandemic, we were living in such a surreal time that your news anchor being under their desk instead of at it, very much was the kitsch of early TikTok.
Yeah.
But then as I really legitimized into this career, it became less about a character, and I had already built a lot of trust with the audience and proved myself. And they were like, you could get up off the floor now.
Yeah,
That's
come on. Including when you're interviewing Obama, from under
Obama under the desk was so crazy. Do you want to hear about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're here. Yeah.
So 2 years ago for the midterms, they were doing a voting campaign.
Yeah.
And Obama's office contacted my management and they were like, the president would love to do a TikTok. And so I got there and they were like, you have one take. He's busy. So
makes sense.
Just prepare yourself under the desk. And I was waiting, and thank God for my undergraduate degree in theater because I remembered all my lines, even though I was panicked. The door opens and I hear, what are you doing under my desk? And if you look at my face during that moment, when I was like, that is real. That was one take.
Unlike other creators, other creators will bank a lot of content and do this.
Every day,
how do
baby,
you,
every day.
Right, what is your schedule? Because we've been here for a few hours. When do you work? What do you do? How do you do this?
So knowing I was coming here today, I filmed 3 videos last night. So that takes care of my morning and afternoon video.
Wow.
I also had an ad today.
Okay.
So I had pre-filmed that and I was able to post that, but I schedule and plan all of that based on how much I'm doing. And I've never done as much as I am right now because I'm actively trying to get people registered to vote. So that's a full-time job on top of keeping the creator job alive.
You just mentioned how you posted a brand video today. What does a brand video look like for you? Because I would assume, and many people talk about this, monetizing news, and as a journalist, that could get tricky.
Oh yeah, it's super hard. So you have to be wildly honest. Some people think if they hide it, they'll get away with it. I think you have to be even more honest. I'll put ad right on the page. I tell whoever it is, and people are like, "Oh, this is how V pays their bills. That's fine." We've built that up. So today's ad was for Vote Save America, an organization that I align with. The end person is Crooked Media. I love the Johns over there. And they were like, hey, we would love, do you want to talk about voting? You're already talking about voting. We can get you a little money to support it. You have full editorial control over how you tell the story. We just want them to go to Vote Save America, which has incredible resources. So I looked at it and I was like, this is something I would do. It provides value and it allows me to not have to charge my audience because Kara Swisher also taught me, there are 2 ways to do this. You can do a subscriptions model where your audience pays you, or you can do advertising, but you have to be honest about both and then choose which is going to be the more prevalent. And I didn't want to do subscriptions. So she's like, then you have to be super honest about your ads and why you do them. And I have been. I did an ad for Pizza Hut one time.
Yes.
And I had a blast with it. The first ad I did was for a pillow company. And I was like, do you ever take a nap under your desk? And we made it campy. And they were like, oh my God, good for you, V. And I do so few of them that, I think they accept it and they think it's funny.
And you're not integrating it into a news video.
It is not a news video. It is an ad video. It is totally separate and it is made clear.
I think it's important, and I'm happy you shared that because there is a feeling of a fear of news media going away because of the layoffs, and then brands not wanting to sponsor the news because or news channels because they can't control it or because of the stories that are covered. What's your take on that?
So I think it comes down to the trust again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with television, they trust that network.
Yeah.
And with creators, they trust that creator. Mm-hmm. So again, you're a little bit more alone in what you're doing. And there's a little less room for you to make mistakes, I guess I would call it. am married and I like to be home, and I'm a very brand safe person. I don't swear on my show. I don't show bias. I don't drink or smoke on the show. You know what I mean? There's nothing that a brand might consider scandalous on Under the Desk. It's very safe, even though it's news. And so for a lot of influencers, and this is definitely a different show, talking about how they manage their careers and the expectations of how to be brand friendly. Because for so many people, it is extremely lonely. It's difficult. A lot of the kids are like 20-year-olds, will talk to me about like how difficult it is for them to date. I'm really lucky I'm married and have good foundational security at home. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about that. But when they go through a breakup, that affects the brand. And I don't have to deal with that. So for me, it's a brand. I'm a brand safe, kind of easier person to work with. But I think there's something to investigate certainly about the higher code of ethics that influencers have, because your whole person is for sale or not, you know?
And that comes with pros and cons to it. A lot of people might see what you're doing and say, wow, I look up to this, but I don't know how to make money. So can you explain the monetization models around what you do, which you talked about brands and sponsorship.
Yep.
There's TikTok revenue.
Yep. Very little. It used to be really good and it's not so good anymore.
Yes.
So I have always monetized off platform. So I make a little bit of money from each view, but that the creator fund is really not something you can live on or count on. I make a little money from ads, few and far between, but the majority I make is from in-person speaking, consulting, all my adult stuff that I do off platform. And so I think TikTok's a great platform for discoverability. It does not make you the money that YouTube does because it doesn't have AdSense, but it is a place where you can really like build a brand and a universe and have some joy. And so I've talked about good, bad, and expensive money with people in the past. You have to consider what's good money, what's bad money, what's expensive money when you're a creator. How will this affect the overall brand? Is this authentic to what people come to me for? Or will they tune out because now they think I'm a sellout or I'm doing too much TikTok shop or whatever?
This is fascinating. So yeah, let's go back to Under the Desk.
Yeah.
Theater major.
Yep.
Chef or working the restaurant business, event planner.
Yep.
At what point did you decide to go from like just a job then to try out this social media thing?
So I always loved politics, and that Mitt Romney gig ended up launching me into a really impactful career in Washington, D.C. as a caterer. And if you think of the world as like New York City, the restaurants have the most power and are the coolest. In D.C., it's the caterers. So I learned a ton about social dining and like catering at like Nancy Pelosi's Georgetown loft for the Democratic Ladies Luncheon and just all this stuff that was going on. I was always really interested. And when you are the staff, they just talk and they don't think that you care or understand. So I felt like I really got a crash course on what behind the scenes politics is like. And I loved that. So then I went from being the caterer to working with James Beard Foundation, which was a true dream of mine come true. I got to work on their women's leadership programs. I did that for exactly 1 year, and then the pandemic hit. So I was home, and I started making videos of me cooking that were sort of goofy and funny on TikTok because a lot of our chef friends were on TikTok, and teaching people how to apply for PPP loans, teaching people about shuttered venue license, just trying to keep that community going because it's something that I needed to like wake up and not be in despair. I needed to create a routine for myself. So I just did my job while making TikToks. It was like my James Beard job, but TikToks. And then January 6th happened. I was on the phone with the Veterans Whole Health Department in Tennessee. We were talking about how we were going to feed veterans who were unhoused because the structures of society fell apart. So, and just over the top of my computer, I could see people in the Capitol in places they weren't supposed to be. Having worked in the Capitol as a caterer, I was like, whoo, you're not supposed to be over there. That's not a public area. And I got under my desk and explained the 25th Amendment to Mike Pence. And that was the first Under the Desk.
You can invoke the 25th right now, and then you could be president. You could be president for 14 whole days.
My friend Randy from Charleston, South Carolina called me. She's like, girl, you better get back under that desk. What is going on now? And so it started as kind of like a joke between me and Randy.
Yeah.
And then every single day. And then it was actually still my name. I hadn't picked the account name on the desk yet. And the first piece of merch that I got was from a woman who made pottery in California. And she said, Under the Desk News. And she had put it on like a mug. And then she had put my glasses on the mug, which became the first logo. And she had written in the card, I tune in every day to hear you say, it's Monday night and here's what happened. And so this woman and Randy are really responsible for essentially creating the brand Under the Desk, because it's not something that I like thought about. I was just like doing me.
But I love that, how it was so natural.
Yeah.
It's like where the universe was going. You were moving with your flow.
And that's how it is to this day. Another thing that the fans of Under the Desk have named themselves the Dust Bunnies. So now,
That's so good.
that's the community, the Dust Bunnies. And I answer to them, and that's how we keep doing this.
At what point did you turn into a creator, though?
I really struggled with that for a long time. I had to create like a routine for myself. So that routine went from, being at the James Beard Foundation to making 3 videos a day, to watching the news, to, there was just so much that I needed it for that I don't think I realized I was building a creator career, because I really didn't care how many people followed me. I didn't really care how many views the videos got. I liked doing it, and I looked forward to doing it. And so I would say my dad made a TikTok account so he could be my 10,000th follower.
Yes.
I love him.
So cute.
He's a sweet, sweet girl dad. And that is when they got me a cake. And I was like, oh, well, when you get a cake, that's an official celebration. You're something now. And from there, I sort of started getting more opportunities, couple like early brand deals. And then I got invited to be a featured creator at VidCon in my second year. I had no idea what VidCon was, nor the power of being a featured creator. I was just kind of walking around, and Daniel from Palette Management was like, V, I would love to talk to you. Where's your manager? And I was like, it's me. I don't have, he's like, are you? No. That's not, are you alone? You can't be alone. I'll help you right now. Are you serious? And so Daniel sort of like helped me through VidCon, and I've been with him ever since.
It feels like your creator journey has been very organic.
Definitely. I mean, I didn't know what a creator was, right? Like
Had you not followed anyone or in that way? Wow.
No, the only creators I knew were chefs who had and they were also celebrity chefs. And so I saw being a creator as like just another sort of place for people to follow you when you had already achieved success in the real world. I didn't YouTube or anything like that. I didn't know about any of that stuff.
If you've built your career on TikTok, are you worried about everything with TikTok right now?
No, because it doesn't serve me to, and because I know that I will be on that ship until it sinks. The legitimization of TikTok for news started with Jen Psaki at the White House.
Yeah.
When she was press secretary. Me and Aaron Parnas and a couple other people were doing updates on Ukraine and what was going on. And she was like, y'all are actually pretty good. Can we provide you what we provide the media when it comes to, do you know how to find White House statements? And she just kind of like reached out genuinely to be like, hey, you're doing a good job. If you need resources, just know you can have them. Here's like a little, how that works. And I love that this administration cared enough to diversify their communication strategy to include more people. And I'm really grateful to Jen Psaki for that. But that was the start of like getting involved with the government, if you will. And when it came to the TikTok ban, I was in a room where John Kirby was there, and I was like, I think you're saying it really ugly. I think when you go on TV and you talk about TikTok bans or national security, like I just think you guys aren't showing any compassion, and it's really hurting people.
Okay.
And it's making them not trust you. And he was like, say that again, what? And I'm like, okay, listen, you're treating TikTok like a public utility, like a faceless thing. And it is not. And Mark Warner's out here saying stuff like, well, if we ban TikTok, you could just go be on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And I'm telling you, you can't burn down my house and tell me to move in with my neighbor. I already tried to live in that neighborhood. They didn't want me over there, okay? TikTok is its whole own world in culture. And there are people, 7 million small businesses on there. It puts $24 billion into the GDP a year. And like, there has to be a way to have data privacy and not annihilate a platform that gives so many people meaning. And he was like, okay.
I'll take that into account.
I'll think about that. And it was just trying to get people. I think Tim Walz talks about this well. You can look at things and see them as commodities, or you can look at them and see the people who will be impacted by those things. Like, and he's talking about building housing and how we're going to, make sure all Americans have a good place to live that's safe. And I'm talking about like the opportunities that are afforded to us through this platform.
Yeah. And what does it mean to deliver news to the next generation? What does news look like for the next generation?
My answer is kind of like two parts. I think there's news as it's been for the last 4 years. And I do think that that is shifting slightly now. And with TikTok, I'm sort of like the original G of news on TikTok. Now, folks see TikTok as a viable channel to distribute from, mostly because last October, Pew Research published that 1 in 3 people got their news on TikTok, and all the traditional and legacy media people freaked out and were like, what? Not from us? What? The new research that came out and why I think the future of news is changing is that while 1 in 3 people get their news on social media, more than that, develop their opinion of the topic based on the comments.
Oh.
And that actually gives me a little bit of pause because the comments are not a place you should develop your opinion solely.
And they're also filtered. The algorithm gives you what they think that,
That's
either
where the bots are.
And that's too. And then that can be manipulated, and we're seeing this happen.
So you can see me deliver the news, and what that is has been fact checked and true. And you may feel like, oh, good, I feel good about that. I'm going to go to the comments and see. And then you may see a rash of comments that are like, you can't trust this person or whatever. And some of that is bots, and some of that is just like contrarianism of the internet and trolls and whatnot. Some of it is good criticism of the topic or some other idea. If I know that people are getting their opinion from the comments, then bad actors also know that people are getting their opinion from the comments. So that is actually what I'm worried about when it comes to social media news. Not the personalities or growing the space, but how the comment section and misinformation is really weaponized and spreads really quickly.
Let's get into the DNC. That was an inflection point.
Oh yeah, big time.
And of course, them giving press passes to creators and creators getting access that journalists weren't, and that all came to a head. What was your take now looking back at that moment and the criticism that the creator community was getting?
They invited 200 creators.
Yeah.
And this is the continued effort of the Biden administration to make the average person feel heard, seen, and included.
Why is there so much tension?
I think it's because we have to remember that we shouldn't be fighting each other, that the actual oppressive force is the conglomeration of all these news agencies and the shutting down of those agencies. There's a lot of scarcity in the journalism world right now. We've seen more jobs lost in journalism than maybe any other time that I can think of, more news channels shut down that reach young people, that were cool and niche.
It's also, I think there's a bit of like, have some respect because like they've created the path that you're, in a way, you're following and doing your own thing, but there needs to be some respect. It's like respecting your elders in a way.
Forget who feeds you, right? I am literally nothing without legacy media and the people on the front lines who provide this reporting, which I then interpret, package, and send out, right? We have to have mutual respect for each other. I can help your story go further. And you should be crediting those journalists for that original reporting. Like I just did a thing on Jim Watson being the photographer behind all these viral photos on TikTok, because it is actually one guy who happens to be like just really cool and in the right spot at the right time. But there's somebody on social media who's getting 11 million views for that, and they're not crediting him.
Are you worried about AI taking over your job ever reading the news?
No. I'm worried about AI misinformation because people enjoy it and it's fun. But I think that the news is a deeply human and vulnerable thing. And I don't think that AI can ever take that from us. I think misinformation could make us tired or disillusioned, but I think it's always going to be that person who looks you in the eyes, whether that's through the camera lens or through the television or through their phone or through their writing, that you say, I trust that person and I want to hear from them.
Yeah, I agree. Trust is huge. The future of all this, where you see these platforms, news, the election is coming up, obviously. Where do we see this going?
I think we've proven that social media is a viable and respectable distribution platform for information, news, and community building. I think that the future for creators is just getting started. We are really in the like kind of infancy of anybody can be a creator, and the tools that enable you to have that YouTube didn't afford you before. And I think you got to remember, just like anything else, fame is a fickle thing and popularity is a fickle thing, and you might be popular at something for a period of time, and that's okay. You don't have to try to keep this forever and ever and ever. Always be on the lookout for what's next. Be agile. Just because that moment where you were the top of goes away because trends go away, or sort of, it's like theater. It's a rise and release.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to keep yourself stable so that you can continue to enjoy being a creator and you don't get burnt out? And that's what I think the future of creators is: professionalization of the industry and making sure that people are supported in a way that they don't get burnt out, and that they can enjoy it.
V, thank you so much.
Thank you for
joining
having
us here in
me.
New York. Our first interview out of New York.
I
This has been
know.
amazing.
I hope it was good.
It was. We could talk forever.